Why do people post to TikTok? What is a virtual classroom? Do you use AI? What's with all these fake photos?
Did you go to an arcade? How many TV channels were there? What was dial-up internet? Did you hang out at the mall?
From the class of 1996 with big hair, AOL, and whatever.
And the class of 2026 with YouTube, smartphones, and mask mandates.
You're listening to Midlife Young. Do you know what's weird?
You?
Maybe. But guess again.
Honestly, it's the fact that somewhere in the world, right this second, there's probably a potato sitting in a kitchen drawer that fully believes that it will never be turned into mashed potatoes. And statistically, at least one potato is right. But that's not even the weird part. The weird part is that if you think about it, we've all agreed that drawers are just horizontal doors and cabinets are like tiny houses for dishes. But no one ever stops to question why bowls get stacked, but cups get lined up like they're waiting for roll call. I mean, why do cups have ranks? And if you follow that line of thought even a little further, and trust me, don't go too far, because that's how people lose Tuesdays. You start realizing that socks are basically foot prisons that we willingly enter into every morning, only to escape at night. But one sock always disappears, which implies there's an escape tunnel somewhere in your laundry system, probably union organized, probably sophisticated. Then you remember that clouds are just floating, evaporated oceans, silently judging everything we do, even though they cannot commit to a solid shape for more than like 20 seconds. Meanwhile, bananas are technically berries, but strawberries aren't. And we all just collectively agreed not to panic about that. So yeah, that's what's weird. Well, everyone, thanks for joining.
Wait. Bananas are berries? Hold on. You're throwing me off track. And besides, we can't have that short of a podcast.
Okay, so what is weird? Hold on. You're bringing back fashion crimes, aren't you?
Yep. There is a number of odd fashion trends that I think we should check out.
Like what?
Well, there were a number of cool items we can list from my generation.
I could probably list some items from my generation too.
Well, let's go back and forth then, with stories of fashion crimes of the weird. You know what? I'll start. It was 1989, and the hottest trend wasn't a new video game or a pair of high tops. It was slap bracelets. Every kid had one, and if you didn't, you were practically invisible. Kids would strut down the hallway, arms stacked with 3 metal slap bracelets, purple, teal, and a wild zebra print. Each time they flicked their wrist, the bracelet snapped with that satisfying smack sound, turning heads like he was a rock star. At lunch, the showdown began. Bet you can't slap it from across the table, that one girl would say, twirling her pink glittered bracelet. The challenge was on, with a big grin, stretching that bracelet flat, aim like a pro, and let it fly. Whap! It curled perfectly around her wrist, and the cafeteria erupted in cheers. By the end of the day, the principal confiscated about half the bracelets, declaring them distractions, but most didn't care. They had started something bigger. Slap bracelets weren't just a fad. They were a statement. And in that moment, being a middle schooler in the 1980s, felt like pure magic.
Sounds like an interesting competition you had back then.
I know. And those slap bracelets, you know those tape measures?
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same material, except for covered in like a vinyl coating to give you those different colors. So just imagine when those suckers wear out.
Oh.
Sharp edges. So, I mean, there's a bit of danger to these slap bracelets besides just the cool factor.
I also heard that it could create rashes on your wrists.
Yep, they could.
Well, let me tell you about the flower crown era.
What? So they made crowns with flour? I bet that was messy.
Not flower. Anyway, it was 2014, and the middle school cafeteria buzzed with the sound of pop songs. Every Friday, the crown crew gathered near the bleachers before first period. They weren't royalty, but their heads were adorned with delicate halos of faux daisies, roses, and baby's breath. Flower crowns had become the ultimate aesthetic, part Tumblr dream, part Pinterest DIY. To wear one was to declare yourself a curator of vibes, a believer in soft grunge and indie playlists. The group's unofficial leader had mastered the art of crafting crowns from craft stores finds and YouTube tutorials. Her locker was a shrine to pastel ribbons and floral wire. She believed that a crown wasn't just an accessory, it was a statement. I'm different, but in a way that's photogenic. The trend spread like wildfire. Soon even the soccer kids wore crowns, ironically, snapping selfies with captions like, just vibin'. Teachers rolled their eyes, but secretly, some wore them during Spirit Week. One day, the principal announced a ban on distracting headwear. The crown crew was devastated. But instead of surrendering, they staged a peaceful protest. Everyone showed up wearing crowns made of paper flowers. The movement became legendary, immortalized in grainy Instagram posts and middle school lore.
Wait a minute. Wasn't that a comeback?
Yes, absolutely. Flower crowns have deep roots in history. Like ancient origins, flower garlands and crowns go way back to ancient Greece and Rome, where they symbolized victory, celebration, and honor. Or the 1960s hippie era. They became iconic during the counterculture movement, representing peace, love, and harmony with nature. Think Woodstock, free spirits, and flower power. Or maybe even the 2010s comeback. The rise of Tumblr aesthetics, Coachella fashion, and boho vibes brought them back. They were everywhere. DIY tutorials, Instagram selfies, and music festivals.
Interesting. I can just envision that one girl with the locker room that looked like one of those craft stores, just full of stuff.
Oh, like Joanne Fabrics.
And Michael's. Now let's move on to something that really stood out in the 80s school hallways. Neon everything. The hallways buzzed like a neon-lit arcade. He tugged at the strap of his backpack. Its zipper jangled against the metal lockers. He tried not to stare at the fluorescent explosion around him. Everywhere, every single corner, was glowing. Scrunchies stacked like rainbow towers on wrists, belts so bright they could signal an aircraft, and socks that practically hummed under the blacklight of the roller rink. She walked past, her hair teased to gravity-defying heights, a neon pink scrunchie anchoring the chaos. Her shoelaces glowed green, and her belt, electric yellow, looked like it had been forged from pure sunshine. Even the notebooks were loud, splashed with geometric shapes and colors that didn't exist in nature. It wasn't just fashion. It was survival. If you weren't neon, you were invisible. He remembered the first time he tried to resist. A plain gray t-shirt, jeans, nothing fancy. The looks he got, like he stepped out of a black and white movie into a world that demanded color. By lunch, he had borrowed a friend's neon orange wristband just to blend in. It wasn't enough. The decade had rules, and the rule number one was glow or go home. At the arcade that night, the lights bounced off of every surface, turning the crowd into a living kaleidoscope. He finally gave in, pulling on a neon green belt that felt like a badge of honor. It wasn't just a trend, it was a declaration. In the 1980s, neon wasn't optional. It was a language of cool. And everyone was fluent.
Okay, can I just say, electric yellow belt? Really?
I didn't say the fashion choices of the 80s middle schooler was the best in the world.
With all that neon, definitely not.
But we could replace traffic cones.
That's true. It's very, very true. And maybe even traffic lights.
It was all about public safety.
I would have just run them over.
Well, there goes that era.
Well, the color didn't stop. It just moved to the 2010s. It was the summer before 8th grade, and she sat crisscrossed on her bedroom floor, staring at the box of teal hair dye like it was a ticket to a new life. Her best friend scrolled through Tumblr on an old laptop, showing pictures of girls with perfect ombre hair and galaxy print leggings. "Are you sure your mom's cool with this?" the friend asked, smirking. "She said as long as it's just the ends," came the reply, holding up a strand of chestnut hair. "It's 2010, everyone's doing it." The bathroom became their salon. Old towels covered the counter, and the smell of chemicals mixed with the faint scent of Bath & Body Works body spray. One leaned over the sink, while the other painted the teal dye onto the hair with a toothbrush they'd sacrificed for the cause. When they rinsed it out, hearts raced. The color wasn't perfect, more streaky than smooth, but under the yellow glow of the vanity lights, it looked magical. There was a vision of walking into school in neon shoelaces and a band tee, hair swinging like a badge of rebellion. That night, a grainy photo went up on Instagram with the caption, "New hair, who dis?" The lights trickled in, mostly from friends, but enough to make it feel like belonging to something bigger, something bold, something 2010.
So, what are these galaxy print leggings? I know, you said a whole bunch of other things, but that's what caught my attention for a second.
They're the ugliest leggings in the world.
They outdo the hairdo?
Yes.
And that's really what's popular.
I guess so. I mean, I wore leggings like that when I was younger, but I threw those out.
And it seems like the colored hair thing has hit like every generation and age at this point.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I dye my hair. Try to keep it neutral, though.
Now, let's move to a story from junior high school, the 1990s, and mood rings. He sat at the back of the classroom, tapping his pencil against the desk, pretending to listen while the teacher droned on about fractions. The real drama was on his finger, a mood ring, glowing a deep blue. He read somewhere that blue meant calm, but his heart was racing. Across the room, she was laughing with her friends. Her own ring flashed green like a secret code he couldn't crack. Mood rings were everything that year. They weren't just jewelry. They were status, mystery, and a little bit of magic. Everyone wore one, comparing colors like they were horoscopes. If your ring turned black, you were doomed. Purple meant passion, though no one really knew what that meant. At lunch, he slid into the seat next to her, trying to act casual. She noticed his ring immediately. "Blue," she said, smiling. "Guessing you're chill." He shrugged, hid the fact that his palms were sweating so much the ring was probably lying. She held up her hand. Hers was violet. "That means creative, right?" He nodded. He had memorized the little chart from the kiosk at the mall. Violet meant excitement. He wondered if that excitement had anything to do with him. The bell rang, and they walked out together, the rings catching the sunlight like tiny mood-driven planets. For a moment, he believed the colors were telling the truth, that maybe, just maybe, they were both feeling the same thing.
Nah, they weren't. Mood rings are just based on your body temperature. Sorry.
So he's just got dreams at this point.
Yep.
He wasn't getting a girlfriend at all.
Nope, it's just based on his body temperature.
Well, that's sad for him.
Boy, you're mean. I was supposed to be the mean one. Anyway, let's go on to something smaller, and from the 2020s. A micro bag you attach to your regular bag. The hallway buzzed with chatter as the bell rang, and the crowd flowed like a river of denim, sneakers, and oversized hoodies. Among them, a figure walked with a backpack slung low. But what caught the eye wasn't the bag itself. It was the tiny pouch clipped to its strap, dangling like a charm. It wasn't alone. Another pouch peeked from the side, and yet another from the zipper pull, creating a cascade of miniature accessories that looked more curated than accidental. Across the hall, someone adjusted their tote, where a neon microbag clung like a statement piece. It didn't hold much. Maybe a lip gloss, maybe nothing at all. But that wasn't the point. The point was the look. Layered, playful, and deliberate. It was a trend born from glossy campaigns and runway shots, where luxury brands had turned utility into art. Fast fashion followed, flooding feeds with adorable versions, making the aesthetic accessible to anyone scrolling late at night. They all knew the ritual: clip, stack, repeat. Each tiny bag was like a badge of individuality, a way of saying, I'm in on it. Some mixed textures, canvas against leather, nylon against faux fur, while others went monochrome, creating a sleek silhouette of miniature geometry. It wasn't about carrying more. It was about carrying style. A visual language that spoke louder than words in a world obsessed with aesthetics. As they passed under the fluorescent lights, the layered bags swung like pendulums, catching glances and sparking quiet admiration. It was a small detail, but in the ecosystem of high school fashion, small details were everything.
I don't get it. Why a small bag that is practically useless being used that you attach to a big bag? I mean, exactly what value is that?
2 words. Met Gala.
Not sure what that is.
Well, it's like a red carpet event where all these celebrities go and they dress all nice or mostly weird.
Talking about small items, in the 1990s, many of the classes, and almost from all grade levels at this point, including high school, got into a thing called Pogs. It was 1994, and the school was a kaleidoscope of neon windbreakers, Jeanco jeans, and backpacks sagging under the weight of all those textbooks, and something else. Pogs. They weren't just for recess anymore. The cardboard discs, once stacked and slammed on playground blacktops, had evolved into a fashion statement. Kids wore their prized Pogs like badges of honor. Some threaded them onto ball chains and wore them as pendants. The glossy design catching the fluorescent light. Skulls, holographic dragons, cartoon icons. Others pinned them to their backpacks, arranged in perfect grids like military medals. The more rare the Pog, the higher the social currency. He walked past the lockers with a Pog dangling from a shoelace around his neck, a heavy brass piece that clicked against his chest like a trophy. She had a denim jacket covered in Pogs, each one secured with safety pins, forming a mosaic of pop culture. They didn't just play the game, they wore it. Between classes, clusters of students compared collections like jewelers inspecting gems. That's a poison Pog, someone whispered, pointing at the glossy black disc with neon green lettering. Limited run. Heads turned, the owner grinned, knowing it wasn't just a game piece, it was status. Teachers rolled their eyes. Some schools had banned the Pog battles because they blurred into gambling, but no one could ban fashion. The discs became conversation starters, identity markers. A kid with a NASA Pog pinned to his backpack was instantly the science guy. Another flaunted a stack of glow-in-the-dark Pogs clipped to a belt loop, jangling like keys to a secret club. By spring, the fade was everywhere. Tiny backpacks carried Pog tubes alongside lip gloss. Ball chains with Pogs swung like pendants in the lunch line. Even the yearbook captured it, a photo of 3 friends flashing peace signs, Pogs glittering on their jackets like badges of rebellion. And then, just as quick, it faded. By senior year, the pogs were gone, boxed up in basements, traded for CD wallets and pagers. But for a brief, brilliant moment, these cardboard circles weren't just toys. They were fashion, identities, and the ultimate 90s flex.
So, what is a pog?
So they're basically the cardboard or plastic discs, I guess in some cases metal, printed with a design or a picture. And they're collectible. And sometimes they were used as games.
Interesting.
And they kind of look like little iron-on badges for like jackets and stuff in some cases. But I mean, obviously, if they're made out of plastic or cardboard, they wouldn't iron on.
What are they supposed to do? They're just fashion statement?
Just kind of a thing, I guess.
Interesting. Not only for status, like pogs did, but a lot of trends also seem to be related to boosting mood. It's high school 2020. The first bell had barely rung when he clipped a tiny plush frog to his backpack. It wasn't just any frog. It was a jellycat, Ricky Rain frog. Soft and squishy. The kind that TikTok called emotional support in amphibian form. He had saved up for weeks, scrolling through authenticity guides to make sure it wasn't a fake. The tag felt right. The fur was cloud soft, and when he squeezed it between classes, the anxiety in his chest loosened just a little. Down the hall, she was adjusting her phone case. A pastel pink one with 3D strawberries and a dangling Sanrio charm. It wasn't just cute. It was armor. Every time someone complimented it, she felt like she leveled up socially. Her Instagram stories were full of "what's on my phone" videos, and the comments always said the same thing: "Obsessed with your case!" She'd learned from TikTok hauls that the kawaii cases weren't just decoration. They were a vibe. A way to say, I'm soft, approachable, and fun, without saying a word. By lunch, the table was a mini gallery of mood-boosting accessories. A Labubu plush dangled from a belt loop, one of those mischievous Pop Mart creatures that blew up after Blackpink's Lisa posted hers. "It's like a lottery ticket," someone said, explaining the blind box thrill. Another friend had a Jellycat Amusables coffee-to-go charm clipped to her tote because carrying a plush coffee cup makes Mondays less evil. They laughed, took selfies, and tagged #BagCharmSquad. These weren't just trends. They were coping mechanisms. Between exams, social drama, and the endless scroll of curated perfection, these charms were tiny lifelines. Each plush, each pastel case whispered, "You're allowed to be soft. You're allowed to find joy in small things." And in a world that felt heavy, that mattered more than anyone admitted out loud.
I want a Jellycat Ricky Rain frog. That sounds cool.
It does.
Squishy, squishy. Well, it's soft and squishy. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. Squishy, squishy.
Uh-huh.
Sure, a lot of weird fashion trends of our two generations.
Yeah, definitely some weird things we've heard today.
Now, I'm curious of our audience in any generation, what weird fashion trends they have ran into.
Yeah, let us know online in the comments.
Yep, that was some weird fashion.
Kind of like yours.
What about mine?
It says world's greatest farter.
No, the farter is crossed out. It says father underneath it. I just can't help that it has Shrek on it. You know, whatever. It's a cool t-shirt.
True. Wait.
True. I won one. She said true. Anyway.
That's not what I meant to say sure.
Sure. She denies it now. Well, anyway. This was a good episode. Until next time.
Bye.
From the class of 1996
And the class of 2026.
this has been Midlife Young.
Don't miss out on future episodes by subscribing to our podcast.
And find us online at midlifeyoung.com. Thank you for listening.